From time to time, I like to tell a story about the city of Sanford. How there's some good things that come out of Sanford, even though sometimes you hear some negative things. I grew up right here, down on 13th Street, what was called the hood, or back then we called it the neighborhood. 13th Street at the time was lined with a bunch of little, what we call chitlin circuit clubs. These were little bars, little juke joints that all of the itinerant blues players that traveled all across the nation used to come into and play in right here in Sanford. Right here in Sanford, you had people play like B.B. King, Z.Z. Hill, James Brown, Aretha Franklin, right here in Sanford. Now me there growing up on 13th Street, I used to hear this music, sound something like this every night. Around about 8 o'clock they'd get started and they'd go all night long. They go all night long. I was curious. My mama didn't let me run the streets all night. When the street lights came out, it was time to be in the house. And stay your little behind there until the sun comes up. But I started feeling a little something going on down in my soul, and I wanted to see what was going on in these little juke joints. So I decided one night that I'd sneak out of the house, snuck out the back door of the house, and went up the street to what I believe was the Miss Curly Mae Brown Club. And I looked up and they had these windows, they used to call them jealousy windows. I peeked in and I saw a sight quite unlike anything I'd ever seen before. Yeah. Back in those days, the things that were popular, there were two things that were popular. There was one thing that was called hot pants, and the other thing was called a mini skirt. And that club was filled with these healthy women wearing these particular articles of apparel. And they were swaying to the music, going side to side. And it seemed to me as I looked out here and I beheld this sight, as if it was speaking to me, as if it was trying to grab my attention, as if it was trying to draw me in. It's just like this wave, this infinite sea of hips was calling my name. And the music was real good. And then I heard a saxophone kick in like Mr. Don Wright, and he did something like this. Then up stepped another young saxophone player by the name of Gregory Seal. He did something like this. There was a cat over there on guitar. Like my brother Jeff back here, and he said something like this. Then there was a cat kind of like Augie back here holding down the bottom. We could hear him blocks away. And then keeping it steady on the drums was a young man like my son Maurice, number 3 back here, doing something like this. Now after a while of me looking and beholding this sight, I decided I better get on back home. I rolled on back up the street and came through the back door. Standing there waiting for me was Mama. Mama had in her hand a peach tree switch. She was about to fix what was broken in me. Daddy said, "Martha, don't you whoop that boy. He got that boogie in him and it's got to come out of him. He's just getting older. He's going to act that way. He's going to be a little wild." We call that the 13th Street Boogie.